To simplify a giant tablet, Lumen centralizes all communication in one place with ease of one-touch dialing, video calls, emergency buttons, entertainment, news and photo sharing on grandkids, so grandkids can keep grandparents in the loop with what is going on in the outside world at such a difficult time. Joining us now is Paul Wilson, co-founder of Lumen. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me.
And you've got the device right here
I have
next
it
to us.
right here with me, yes.
Excellent,
yes.
Fantastic. So what does it do?
Well, at Lumen, our focus is keeping vulnerable people connected to family and friends.
And it's obviously
and
a pretty important time right now with a lot of these nursing homes, retirement villages in lockdown.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking about the dangers of isolation and loneliness in the community for years. And now we're finding that obviously the focus of media and people is on this and the importance of it. A 27% increase of early mortality as a result of being lonely.
Wow, that is a figure that when we talk about coronavirus, we talk about the number of people who die from the medical condition of coronavirus. But I think now we're starting to better understand the mental effects, the side effects that have been from isolation, from the lockdown as well, which we've all known would be happening underneath the surface, but now we're starting to get some figures.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's been termed the new smoking, and it's very much about how to keep people connected. And I think we forget how isolated our vulnerable people can be. And by vulnerable, I mean typically seniors and people living with a disability. But what we're experiencing at the moment is what they experience day in and day out. And it's critical we keep them connected, and technology is one way we can do that.
Well, talk to us about the technology, how it works here. So it looks pretty simplified. Is that what you've been working on?
Yeah, so we started off on a smaller format, a 10-inch screen, and we've actually gone to the extent now of producing the hardware as well. So the way that it works is, absolutely, the way it works is we have this large screen here, and it's probably 3 times the size of a standard iPad.
Yeah, and that is important, right? The size, the being able to see it as well, the being able to touch it, for a lot of people whose vision could be a bit of an issue as well, is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, accessibility is a key point, but just as important, you have to remove all the barriers, and we've had to go to the extent where with the operating system, what's on the screen, how it's tailored to each person, right down to the hardware itself. We've had to remove those barriers because the barriers are what gets in the way. I think we've all seen parents using an iPad and it's all fine right up until they forget that password or something.
Yes.
So with this, no passwords,
and then you end up with
no
a cracked
logins.
Screen very quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
So no password, no logins, and the idea is just to be able to fire it up and use it. So I guess the usability was where you started off with, what do we want this to be, and you brought it backwards. You mentioned the hardware side before. Just go into a bit of detail with that, because I'm sure that sounds easier than it actually is.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. We had a piece of hardware that was very close to what we needed, but it can be something as simple as a power cord or having to turn a device on. You know, when you turn a phone on, you've got to click and hold. So with our hardware, you literally plug it into the wall and it's up and running, and it has internet on board, so you don't have to connect it to anything. So we've got, just to explain the whole ecosystem, there's this screen, there's an app that family and friends have on their smartphone.
Right, okay.
And it makes it very easily for families to stay connected. So if you want to make a phone call, it's just a matter of clicking on that, clicking on my face, and you're off and running.
Yep.
Family and friends can do video calls, group video calls. They can send photos and messages directly to the screen. So it really makes the ability to communicate much, much easier. And it's not just about communication. We've also got safety. So there's an emergency button, and entertainment, right down to the point where...
Yeah, well, talk to us about the entertainment. How does that ecosystem work?
Well, I'm glad you asked, actually, because it's all about, if someone wanted to access a show like Ticker, normally you would have to go to a browser and type in an address and know how to access that. Whereas here, we've got an entertainment button. We can click on Lumen TV and Ticker right there.
Oh, fantastic. So there we go.
2 clicks and you're watching it live.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I mean, from our perspective as well, when we design our apps and we talk about that, we haven't wanted to have all the processes in place. When I've gone to download some of the free-to-air apps that we have, they want numbers and passwords and pull out your computer and fill it in. And you just think, who has the time?
Yeah.
You know, you probably, it's 5:59 p.m. and you want to watch the news and you're not in front of a television, and it just makes everything such a nightmare. So the usability is just so important, particularly for people who they're carrying on with technology. You know, they weren't born with an iPhone in their hand as many children are these days. They're developing, they're learning, and for a lot of people it's towards the end of their lives where it's this. I remember my own grandfather who was always so technically savvy, but towards the final years of his life he just kind of gave up on technology and was just wanted the simplest device. So it's that simplicity, isn't it, that's so important.
Well, our oldest user is 104, had never used a smartphone, never used a computer, and found this really easy to use. And we have the most heartfelt testimonials from both seniors and their families saying that they were losing contact with family and friends, or they were losing contact with the outside world. And of course, with information comes interest, and if people feel involved that they can talk to things by watching a show like Ticker, then all of a sudden they feel like they can engage family and friends in the outside world. So technology isn't the only thing to address isolation and loneliness. There's nothing like a hug or a handshake. But at the end of the day, it is such an important tool to keep people connected.
Now, obviously you haven't developed this during COVID-19, but you're one of those entrepreneurs who, when COVID-19 has hit, you thought, well, we've actually got the product which can help people in this situation. Have you had to ramp up? What have you had to do in terms of getting the message out there and getting this product into the hands of the people who need it?
Yeah, I think my wife was saying that she's never seen less of me when I've actually been at home for the last 7 weeks.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we feel like we're delivering a critical service, and we've had a massive rush of people saying, look, I'm worried about mum and dad in an aged care environment and I want to stay in contact with them. So early on, there was a really big rush on that. Now we're finding that people delivering services, aged care providers and villages, are now starting to think what they can do now, as well as what the long-term implications are, because this is a bubble we're in, and it's something we're all working through. But these problems don't go away when we all go back to work. You know, they continue to be an issue.
Paul, really appreciate your time. Congratulations, looks fantastic. Have to try it out, and good luck with it.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay.